A dream may be a wish your heart makes, but if Disney wants to roll around in their bank vault like Scrooge McDuck, they need to stop pretending the parents are asleep. Parents trusted Disney because their films reflected universal truths. Kindness is strength. Hard work actually matters. And good conquers over evil. Hey, Gen Opt Out, if you're somebody who wants better stories for your kids and future generations, stories with morality and courage and family values, then leave a like. But today's Disney, audiences aren't buying what Disney is selling anymore. The numbers don't lie. Recent films, The Little Mermaid in 2023, Wish, and The Marvels, all have struggled to justify their massive budgets. Why? Because Disney has lost the emotional core that made their stories resonate. It's true that Disney once said, "We don't make movies to make money, we make money to make movies." But what good are movies if no one watches them? It's a very expensive hobby, Disney. Disney built its empire on stories that resonate across generations. They didn't just entertain, they taught. Snow White's kindness softened the hearts of the dwarves. Cinderella's patience and grace turned hardship into triumph. Simba had to face his past and take on responsibility. These weren't just fairy tales, they were moral lessons wrapped in stunning animation. Walt Disney saw movies as a way to reinforce shared cultural values, using stories that inspired, uplifted, and brought people together. Today, Disney is using that same influence, but instead of reinforcing that cultural heritage, they're trying to reshape it. They don't just tell stories anymore. They push narratives, and often in direct opposition to the values that made Disney the cultural icon that it is. And here's the key. Their version of strong heroes exposes the cracks in their worldview. Today's heroines aren't strong because of resilience, kindness, or personal growth. They're strong because the script demands it. Instead of earning respect through their character, they simply have it because the writers say so. That's why their stories feel hollow to critics and consumers. When Snow White marches into the castle with an army full of strangers, no one believes it. How could we? The audience can feel when a character's journey is empty. And that's why Disney's new direction keeps failing. Disney's current approach to strong female characters often strips them of what makes them strong in the first place. Strength isn't just about charging into battle or leading an army. It's about character, resilience, and emotional depth. Classic Disney heroines had strength and softness. Snow White's power in the original was not physical force, it was kindness. Her ability to inspire love and loyalty in those who are around her. That's why the dwarves fought for her. That's why the dwarves ran to fight for her. That's why audiences connected with her. But this new version, Disney has completely disconnected Snow White from the nurturing spirit that made her special in the first place. This version of Snow White isn't inspiring people through genuine relationships. She's somehow rallying a city she's never met, turning a soldier to her side with a single line of dialogue. It's hollow. It's not strength. It's just lazy writing wrapped in Hollywood's obsession with telling us that a character is powerful without showing us why we should believe it. People don't reject strong female leads. They reject inauthentic, poorly written ones. Disney's attempt to redefine femininity by rejecting traditional strengths such as kindness, compassion, and emotional intelligence is backfiring. It's not just ideological, it's bad storytelling. And bad storytelling always shows up in the box office receipts. With the remake of the iconic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Disney had the opportunity to expand on the original, which was limited to just about 80 minutes. It was a beautiful, experimental film that changed animation forever. But instead of building on that foundation, they tore it apart. Rachel Zegler said that she found the first Prince Charming creepy. But to be fair, the character is so poorly developed, his name is a description. But still, he's riding into the kingdom, possibly searching for a princess to marry. He hears a beautiful song flying over the castle wall from a princess who's looking for someone to love. Check one, not a gold digger. He looks over the castle walls and sees that she is in work clothes cleaning the tiles. Check 2, she's not lazy. And then as he approaches, he sees that she is the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. Check 3, gotta lock that one down. I believe that the 3 themes of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs are beauty, strength or work, and love. The evil queen is an example of beauty when love is replaced by fear. She is consumed with her beauty and being the most beautiful in the land. Her obsession to the point of murder seems nonsensical, but she's controlled by fear. Perhaps the queen's beauty is tied to her power and her kingdom. It's not hard to imagine a kingdom where beauty is revered over everything else. Is it Hollywood? Snow White's mother prays that her daughter would be beautiful. Lips red as rose, hair as dark as ebony, and skin as white as snow. As she died with Snow's birth, you could say that Snow's beauty was her dying wish. After the death of Snow White's mother, it's pretty easy to assume that the evil queen could have been chosen as queen simply because she was the most beautiful in the land. If another had beauty that surpassed hers, it could challenge her power. Even with Snow White as the king's daughter, as Snow White grew up as a beautiful and beloved princess, the kingdom would start turning to her instead of her less beautiful and far less charming mother-in-law. If Snow is allowed to grow up, for all intents and purposes, the queen's power and influence are dead. So you see, she had to kill Snow. The queen plots to kill Snow White, but like everybody in the kingdom, the huntsman values beauty over duty. And because of Snow White's beauty, he cannot kill her and do his duty as the queen had commanded him. Instead, he leaves her to the wilds of nature, thinking that surely that will kill her. At first, nature is terrifying to Snow White. Instead of the clean lines of the palace walls, everything is curved and twisted. She runs from the shadows as if they could reach out and grab her. Nature is a symbol of death and decay and rebirth, and could be seen as a symbol that beauty will not last. The dwarves were not meant to be beautiful. Through their strength, they work endlessly, digging all day long, prying jewels out of the earth. Their vault overflows with treasure they have no use for because they haven't allowed themselves to love and have somebody else to take care of. Grumpy views Snow White with suspicion, and all of her offers to care for them and make their house warm and comfortable as some kind of trick. Like the queen, they haven't experienced true love, and they live in fear, especially Grumpy. Doc says the soup that Snow cooked smells good, but Grumpy says it's probably poisoned witch's brew. When Sneezy and Bashful realize that Snow is a girl, they comment on how beautiful she is. But Grumpy again steps in and says, all females is poison, full of wicked wiles. Sneezy asks, what are wicked wiles? And Grumpy is like, I don't know, but I's against 'em. Grumpy is the most damaged and scared of all the dwarves, but we don't know why. When Snow asks, how do you do? He crosses his arm and says, how do you do what? When Snow White reveals that she's a princess, Doc says, we are honored to have you. And Grumpy says, we're as mad as hornets. He wants to get rid of her, and then she speaks up and says, if you guys make me leave, the queen is going to kill me. And then he speaks as if he has the voice of experience. He says the queen is an old witch. She could be invisible and seeing them right now. And if Snow is there, the queen would know it, and they're all in danger. Just like the queen, Grumpy is scared of Snow White. Scared that her beauty would bring their downfall. As we get to know the dwarves, we get to see how childlike they are. Snow asks when the last time they washed was, and they're like, last week? Recently. And then they hid their hands behind their backs. She tells them, go wash, and all go, except for Grumpy. He crosses his arms, sticks out his tongue, and marches away, not to wash, but to complain. Then he warns the others, if you give a woman an inch, she'll walk all over you. Put bows in your beards and make you smell like perfume. Again, what experience has he had? He is definitely afraid of being emasculated by a woman's love. And the hilarious thing is, his brothers immediately grab him, throw him in the bath, tie bows in his beard, and say, you smells like a petunia. Because what are brothers for other than emasculating you? But they call it competition. He feels that Snow White's going to make them soft, but the truth is, before they met Snow, every single one of them was scared like a child. Before they go into the house, Doc actually accidentally calls them hens instead of men, because they're chicken. Snow's presence does bring changes. They sing and they dance, trying to impress her. They offer her their room, knowing that there's only one pillow to share. And as soon as she closes the door, they all rip it apart, trying to get it for themselves. Grumpy complains that he's given up the comfort of his bed for Snow White. But let me ask you, is giving up your comfortable bed or seat or whatever it is and allowing yourself to take whatever's left, be it a pot or a cabinet or a sink or a bench like the dwarves did, is that soft? Real men are willing to go through a lot for the women in their lives. It's the people that a man takes responsibility for that give him the courage to face the monsters, to work when everyone else is asleep, and to give even when they feel like they have nothing left. The late, great Jim Rohn said it like this: if a father walks out of the house and can still feel his daughter's kiss on his cheek all day long, he's a powerful man. If a husband walks out of the house and he can still feel the imprint of his wife's arms around his body, then he's invincible all day long. As the dwarves leave for work, each receives a kiss on the forehead from Snow White. They try to act tough. They're concerned about her safety while they're gone, but each takes off their hat and stands in line to get a kiss on the forehead. Even Grumpy, who takes off his hat, shines his head, and waits for a kiss. He feigns to struggle, but the kindness of Snow and the beauty of her heart are slowly softening his. And then, when he hears that she's in trouble, the typically clumsy and grumpy Grumpy jumps onto a stag, leads the charge to her rescue, and chases down the witch that he's been so afraid of with nothing but a stick. Snow White made them feel beautiful, taught them that they had value apart from their work, and made them even stronger. Isn't that a beautiful story and a beautiful moral? Disney has now released a modern adaptation of Snow White. Instead of Prince Charming, there's Jonathan the Thief. And instead of Prince Charming falling for a princess who's dressed in rags, you have Jonathan falling for the princess who can see beyond the fact that he's a thief. Andrew Burnap, the thief who plays Jonathan, says this: it's a new story, as in there's no longer a princess waiting to be saved by a prince, but a princess waiting to be saved by herself and finding her voice and her strength and her courage. And actually, in the end, saving everyone around her. To me, that sounds like a hero's journey just before the main character falls flat on their face and realizes they actually need everybody around them. Zegler says Snow White is a woman on a mission, named as a reminder of resilience, and falls in love along the way. To me, that sounds kind of like a Kristoff and Anna relationship. She saves him when he's in trouble, but then plays the princess card and expects help. He falls in love with her spirit, and then they join with magical creatures to storm the castle and save the land. Though in Frozen, that's the midpoint, not the last 10 minutes. So if that's the story, what's the moral? That a woman is more than beauty and can determine her own course by will and determination? I hope that's not the storyline, because that kind of ambition is more in line with a Disney villain than a Disney hero. Recently, Disney has been telling the story of Disney villains as if they're just misunderstood heroes from the other side. But then morality becomes ambivalent, unclear. And in that case, the hero is just the one who wins. And perhaps that's why Disney loses.